Well, it's that time. It's time for the Russell recap. We are done with 2024. We're turning that page. We're excited about what 2025 has for us. So we're going to do kind of a deep dive into where we've been for 2024. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we see upcoming for the next year. Hope you enjoy it. So before we get into the statistics and numbers, I want to tell you some statistics and numbers about our real estate practice in 2024. And I feel very blessed and very proud to have achieved some great feats in 2024. Myself and my assistant Olivia, we work not as a team, but we're a solo agent with administrative help. And we're competing against a lot of big teams out there. And out of 9,000 agents in the Sarasota Manatee board, we ranked in the top 50. And if you parse that down to solo practitioners like I am, we really achieved at a high level last year. We closed over $44 million in sales. We helped over 30 families either buy, sell, or relocate. Our average list to sell price was 95%, which is higher than the 91% average for the Sarasota board. And probably what I'm most proud of is my average days on market for 2024 was 49. And that stands in contrast to almost 91 days, which is the average for the board right now. So we really feel like we're continuing to sharpen our skills, hone our craft, offer better and better service to our clients. And we're so grateful for all of them and excited about where we're going in 2025. So with that, let's take a quick look at some of the stats for 2024. So this first graph I'm going to show you real quickly is Sarasota County properties, all price points, both single family homes and condominiums. And what you can kind of take away from this graph is this is actually a surprisingly normal looking yearly graph for us. You can see at the start of January into February, March, you can see rising inventory. It's no surprise that as that inventory rises during season, we're seeing more sales go along with it. And then things start to taper off towards the fourth quarter. Obviously in 2024, we had some events that happened in the fourth quarter, some storms that slowed things down, which you can see reflected somewhat in this graph, but not terribly. The big takeaways that I would say for this larger macro graph for 2024 is that we saw in the fourth quarter inventory up 25% year over year. And we saw a deceleration in sales in the fourth quarter of over 10%. So we're certainly in a market that's continuing to moderate. We're seeing inventory gains and a deceleration in the selling process. So this next graph that we're going to look at is also focused just on Sarasota County, but we're going to look more at the higher end of the market, which I'm going to call $2 million and up. And again, you can see that it follows the same kind of similar trend line, but what you'll notice is, especially year over year, we had kind of a surge of sales at the end of 2024, and we also didn't have as big of an inventory increase in the luxury market. So there's a couple of reasons behind that. We had several luxury projects that closed towards the end of 2024, such as a St. Regis, which was a ton of volume, over almost 70 sales, multi-million-dollar units, so that affected the stats a little bit. And then also, I think you had a lot of properties that were either going to be on the market or were already on the market that were removed, that were on the water from the storms. So you didn't quite see that inventory uptick or that level of inventory that we were used to towards the end of the year. I do think as we get into 2025 and these properties are made ready for market, we're going to continue to see climbing inventory in the luxury space. But the numbers there in terms of closings and inventory gains were not as stark as the market overall at the end of 2024. So if you take this next slide, we have a really zoomed out view of what's happened in our market for the past 7 years. And each one of these little bars is a different quarter during that 7-year period. And so you can kind of see this U shape in the middle of the graph, which is the COVID years, the unicorn years, the years where the market was in super short supply and things were selling in days and even minutes sometimes. If you look at the front half of this graph though, which is why I wanted to show you this, and you look at the back half of this graph, you can see a lot of similarities in the markets themselves. You can see that, the sales, the solds were kind of the same. You can see the inventory and pendings were similar. before and after the pandemic. And so what I think you've seen in 2023 and 2024 is kind of a return to a more balanced market, but the years leading up to the pandemic were great years in the market. So I think that's going to be kind of more of the headline for this year. In fact, my mantra for 2025 is, can we just have a normal year? Maybe no hurricanes, maybe no presidential elections. If we could just have nothing crazy happen, I feel like 2025 is going to be a pretty normal year. With that, I think we're seeing this headline of mortgage rates and Fed meetings and following what's happening with that. I think that is going away. I think we should just do ourselves a favor and focus on, 30-year fixed rate money for a primary home is going to be somewhere between 6 and 7% most of the time this year. Most experts see it moving a little bit down over the year, but if I showed you, I'm not even going to waste my time with this graph, but just a straight line on what rates are supposed to do for this year. So I think we accept that as the new normal. And we have to look at other things in the market that have changed. So look at this, the days to sell on average from 2022, the middle of 2022, the average sale took 25 days to go to contract, which is incredibly fast. Now you're seeing that we're up to about 3 months as the average for most properties, all price points. As you go up into the higher end, the average goes higher. As I said earlier, our average for last year was about 49 days, which I'm really proud of compared to the averages. Same thing with list price to sale price. You're seeing, about a 8 to 10% discount from the original list price on most listings. Again, our average was 95%. So we're trying to be more exact in our initial pricing, but also negotiate harder to hit our customers' revenue goals more frequently and with less margin. And then also look at this slide here. So the number of sales, this is really interesting actually, because if you look at December of 2024, you might say, gosh, that really wasn't too bad of a month. More sales closed than in 2022, more sales closed than in 2023. And although the last part of 2024 was below 2023, it wasn't that bad. If you compare it to 2020 and 2021, way less business transacting, way less homes selling. So as we go and start to pivot and think about 2025, what do we need to be thinking about? What are the big headlines? What are we predicting to happen in the market? And again, I'm going to repeat another word. I said, I think that we're looking at a pretty normal year. I think we're going to see, barring something that we can't foresee, we're going to see the market continue to moderate a bit. The market is still really good for top choice, well-priced properties. They're moving quickly, they're selling well, but buyers have more choice. There are more people that are bringing properties to the market. So we have more inventory. We have buyers that are taking more time to buy. If you look at this slide, there are home price appreciation forecasts from several different entities that are experts. And the average is kind of about a 3% projected appreciation for real estate nationally. And that is a very normal year. That is the definition of normal, actually. That's usually the year-over-year gain that we see. So again, I think my advice to you is if you're going to be purchasing a home in 2025, I think when you see the right thing, you need to move decisively. But I also think that if you're not seeing the right thing, the pressure's off. With an average market time of 90 days, you have time to shop around and make sure you're making a good decision. And I think you're going to continue to see more exciting inventory come on the market. On the selling side, I think sellers are being a bit more sober-minded about pricing. We're not really pushing pricing over above comps anymore. You can't sell for higher than the last guy. We're trying to keep things in a general area of defendability on the pricing. So overall, we're continuing to moderate. Buyers and sellers are on more even footing, which makes our job actually a lot tougher because there's a lot of push and pull in some of these transactions. But again, we're committed to helping more families this year than we did last year and hopefully selling more real estate this year than last year. Tried not to get too into the weeds on the numbers and the headlines. I'm glad 2024 is over. The evidence of what our area went through is still all around, even though we see strong recovery after the storms, but I'm definitely ready to close that chapter. I know I'm not unique in saying that. I'm ready to move on. We're already seeing a lot of great activity this season. So I hope you enjoyed this recap. If you ever just want to talk real estate, talk about statistics, talk about the value of your property, any scenarios, that's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do. Thank you so much for watching, and wishing you a very prosperous and exciting 2025.